Hello, my name is Brant Hunt, and my channel is Discerning What is True. Today is the 26th day of September 2023. I'm going to be reading from the book by Bill Langdon called Gnosis, and I've also covered actually the first two chapters of that book, and we're going to be looking at chapter 3 today of that particular book. The name of the chapter is Cosmogenesis. So, hope that you enjoy it and appreciate you being here. So, here we go. Cosmogenesis. Quote here from Krishna: "The impermanent has no reality. Reality lies in the eternal. Those who have seen the boundary between these two have attained the end of all knowledge." As in the Bhagavad Gita. Perceiving the light in the void is going back in time to the timeless seed of existence, a place where there is no time at all, where t equals 0. As such, the so-called light of illumination for the observer is also said to be the light of the cosmic creation that produced them. The light makes the cosmos, whose greatest product makes the light, the same pattern as acorns that make oak trees that make more acorns. In this sense, the light is considered both spiritual and physical in nature. As the spiritual redeemer of the physical system, it created automatically, suggesting the three-act drama. Again, this is what he shares many times, the three-act drama. Let me continue here. Pattern is applicable across cosmic creation as an expansion of metaphysics. So the three-act drama simply is introducing what we call the characters, and the Jews who wrote the Old Testament have a funny way of actually sharing the same story in a different way with different characters, you see. And that's still being done in Hollywood. You're introduced to what I call the issue at first, the characters that are involved in a show, which is pretty much a short part of the start of the state, what we call Act 1. And you meet these people, and then you get what I call a dilemma that takes place. And then that begins in Act 2. And you have certain characters that what I would call that are basically, pro, that is for, that are good guys. And then you have what you call those who are the bad guys. And you come to it's just a whole drama that takes place. And then you come to the point simply is that there's some type of growth that's taking place, and then they've actually learned something in their lives. And then the third part simply is that they have progress through it. They have gone through the whole, what I would call a work. They've gone through certain issues in life and have been able to conquer that, you see. That's what it's about. From a physical point of view, the infinite pulse of metaphysics is but a finger snap, a timeless, ultra thin slice of an event with no thickness or zero time, a mere flash of a moment whose qualities become automatically and quickly expressed over the variant of time. The momentary nature of the fluctuation guarantees the singular, that is, and limited nature of the cosmos, as opposed to a multiverse hypothesis that would come from a more permanent fluctuation within a constant presence. The cosmos is built on infinitesimal moment of pure, robust truth and reason. In realistic physical terms, the effect of the subjective, timeless, infinite pulse generates a momentary glimpse of the t equals 0 state. It's akin to the quantum fluctuation, like ringing a bell that sparks the birth of the cosmos, as suggested by the professional physics establishment since the early 20th century to be a potential means of sparking the so-called Big Bang. Just as a quantum of energy, that is a particle in a box, can tunnel out of its containment potential approaching outside his boundaries within the outer limits of his leaking probability distribution. So ascension, you see, this is what, it just takes a moment, you see. I think it's clear if you look at Scripture. The whole idea of the twinkling of the eye, that's what it's about. Scripture is pointing out this. They're speaking about it, you see. The twinkling of an eye, meaning a quick moment, something changes, and suddenly everything completely is changed. Everything's completely different. But there has to be the work, the great work, before that comes to place, you see. Just as a quantum of energy, that is the particle in a box, can tunnel out the containment potential, appearing outside its boundaries within the outer limits of its leaking probability distribution. So ascension, as a significant universal subjective event, may leave its mark as the same timeless point by everyone who experiences it, or consciously tunnels to it from their own point in space-time, reinforcing its significance repeatedly at t=0. Eggs cannot be unscrambled and put back in their shells as they were before. They were cooked, so the arrow of time determines a definite unidirectional cause and effect to events. Likewise, since an oak tree grows from an acorn, we can take the product of the metaphysical seed to be a tree that incorporates its properties by making things in a space, a place of functional automatic process, and the observer natural learning environment, or tree of good and evil. You see, personal choice, in other words, the automatic consequences of which is having no one to blame for our developing experience but ourselves. You see, this is what people cop out. They blame others for their situation, and they're not really seeing that there's a bigger picture here. And blaming is not going to get you anywhere, you see. God, being truth, remains blameless. Now we can understand the meaning of the statement at the beginning of this chapter, being the womb of Prakriti is the infinite abyss, the ground that contains the light anomaly produced by God as the seed of the cosmos from which all things are born and knowable. Quote, my womb is Prakriti in that I place the seed. Thus, all created things are born. Everything born comes from the womb of Prakriti, and I am the seed-giving Father. As the manifest oppose or opposite to its metaphysical seed, the resultant expanding space-time universe can be modeled with the same 3-to-1 pattern as 3 dimensions of space and 1 imaginary dimension of time. The estimation of dark energy in the universe also puts it at around 73%, close to almost 3/4, you see. This mirror effect is modeled in the vertical array of the tree of life as an inverted triangle of the 3rd and 4th levels under the upright triangle, making the first 2 levels entirely associated to the metaphysical seed. So you have an archetype, you have a worlds, and you have Eden. And again, this is basically dealing with what we call the tree of life and Kabbalah. You're going to rise up. You have 22 different paths to get there, you see. And it's part of what they call imagination, not an imagination, creation, formation, and then action. So there's archetypes, there's the worlds, and then there's Eden. Mapping the cosmic relationship onto the 3-act drama places the metaphysical seed in Act 1, the cosmos, as the tree that grows from it. In Act 2, leaving Act 3 to predict the nature of a black hole, complete with singularity and event horizontal, or I said an event horizon, portrayed philosophically and geometrically as the streams of a simple point and circle. The suggestion is that the third act represents the reunion of energy with the metaphysical source itself at t equals 0. The same state as the event horizon of a black hole. By simple extension, we can predict what comes in other applications, like this one, concerning the philosophical prediction of a return to the original t equals 0 state from a massive time-dilating position in space, a network of black hole seeds that make a great cosmic spider web of energy across the known universe. As the infinite circle is centered philosophically, so space-time is energetically centered throughout by the extreme singularity, surrounded by an event at t equals 0, closing the loop and squaring the cosmic circle to its source, but when it's within its own confines. I'll share some pictures also of this from this particular book afterwards as I finish this reading of chapter 3. Comparing the overall esoteric picture of reality with the discrete tree archetype reveals the 4 classic mystical worlds of reality and the overall split between the upper and lower halves of the tree, representing the natural split between the upper and lower worlds of spirit and energy. The first level, being the highest position, is applied with the God or the world of imagination. I keep saying when I say imagination, but it's not. E-M-A-N-A-T-I-O-N, imagination. Responsible for the infinite pulse and the true source of the light and its condition, otherwise known as metaphysics or simply God. Subsequently, the second level relates to the world of creation and the completion of the metaphysic triad that includes the Son of God, starting the lower half of the tree at the third level with a spherical distribution instead of a discrete point. We can apply the next rate of change of positions, acceleration, to the cosmic expansion and relate it to the world of formation. Since the cosmos is mostly about energy, mass, and form, the only thing left to apply at the lowest level on the tree are the controlling brakes for the acceleration runaway train, that is, the cosmic expansion. In this scheme, the next rate of change involves torsion, being torque, and shearing around points of leverage or control, known as black holes or worlds of action. Again, we can go back to the Meru Foundation, MERU Foundation, as Stan Tennant will share some of this. If you go to look in Stan Tennant, his videos are actually on the internet. Just type that in, Stan Tennant and the MERU Foundation, and there are videos of what he's showing that takes place in the physical as showing it what is actually in his whole, not a laboratory, but for people, how this all works in the known world. The medical physical seed in this scheme defines a position for the expansion of the cosmos, whose initial burst at the speed of causality or light is a constant velocity to all observations points of view, starting the second half of the cycle with expanding spherical acceleration as the cosmic tree from the metaphysical seed. New seeds are defined energetically in its confines as black hole seeds born in the branches of the cosmic tree. Philosophically speaking, the expanding and changing sphere must be reckoned with its own origin, just as the circle is centered to complete the cycle of correspondence, resulting in a conceptual donut from this time, a shape that represents self-referential process, a sphere with a hole in it, you see. The action of energy dynamics shifts emphasis and goes from being energy that takes a relative position in space-time from simple light to atomic stars to a whole defined by the energy around it. A whole implies a boundary, like the empty circle in simple geometry, as a nod to the first stage of squaring a circle, to be completed by the singularity at the heart of the black hole that reconnects with the original t equals 0 state of the original pulse. In the case of the mountain, that is our pyramid, there's plenty of dirt underneath, defining the singularity tip or vanishing point, meaning there is simply no such thing as a naked singularity. In realistic physical terms, it must be defined by something to say, here is a singular point. The simple definition of a whole, after all, is nothing with something around it. It is the something around it that defines the whole, not the nothing of the whole itself. The graphic below shows recorded stellar life cycles as they take a variety of courses in time, depending on their mass, ending with the most ominous and destructive black hole that can hoover up all other cosmic products, like the trump card in a game of whist, W-H-I-S-T. Once born, black holes subsequently follow the same basic patterns as a human being, from birth to death. They are born in already existence reality from collapsing stars and grow by consuming mass until they become adults that produce their own children, that is, as galaxies, before slowly dissipating to nothing again as the cosmos plays out, leaving only black holes that radiate away with no material left to devour, and subsequently producing the basics of life that leads to the potential reproduction of the creative principle. Black hole-centered galactic content makes its way back up the tree archetype, returning to the monad, that is the spiritual nature, to complete a cycle of 7 steps. Hidden in the square of 4 to begin with, energy systems take on greater complexity as they advance to the point of making the vessel or temple to house the risen Son of God and spark the universe. Philosophically, taking the idea of 4 as a square geometrically and joining opposite sides of the square to first make a tube and then a donut, we define a surface which directly connects 7 discrete points together in a unit. That number, I should say, 7 comes up enormously all over the place in scriptures, folks. Okay. Meaning each point is directly connected to every other point, as if they are all part of the center point. By expanding each point until they meet at the boundaries, we define a 7-color map across the square surface. There's the illustration here. And again, like I said, I'll share these after the video. That folds up into a donut, relating the philosophy of the square to the center sphere, topologically, as if the torus, that is the torus, completes the 4-fold sequence of formation and purposefully action, squaring the circle of the sphere or cubing the square by defining a singular center. The coil pattern on the torus surface dividing the mapped colors has 3 loops and maps an explosion of 3 points from the center as the torus rotates through its own center in its natural process. Expanding out to the 4 levels of the tree archetype into a 7-stage cycle, we can see a natural progression as biological systems in a galaxy rise in ever-increasing complexity towards the rational being who gains intelligence, as if reaching back towards the original monad as a plant grows towards the sunlight. This cosmic application of the torus process in its 7 levels, portrayed as a 7-color map, is the heart of an idea by author Young, a technician, a logician, an inventor of the Bell helicopter. The left side of the sequence is purely automatic and energetically concerning the yin-yang relationship applied to the positive and negative charges. The right side concerns more complex gender-driven systems found as a planetary scale, whose biological implements the principle of cause and effect. In this application, the electromagnetic spectrum is the second identity. Below, the creative pulse shown as a rainbow of waves in the graphic, implying the entire electromagnetic spectrum as the next level, is a simplified graphic of its atom pertaining to a mass from energy, and the atomic energy in general as the table of elements. Finally, the 4th level shows the networking principle we find with linking atoms, comprising the mineral or molecular kingdom at the much smaller mass scale than the black hole network that makes up the cosmic content. The right side of the sequence represents the development of gender-driven living systems as more complex patterns that gain more and more physical freedom completed by the intellectual human creature whose rational ability and divine potential remakes the original metaphysical seed of the system that generates them, just as it takes 3 acts to make the seed as the accumulated blueprint in the first place. So the accumulation of energy to its fullness in this sequence can be mapped over the same 3 acts. At the cosmic scale of application, black holes fulfill the turning point of the second act, leaving the third act to the refinement of the creature produced. Finally, taking the product creature in youth as the first act, we can fit the event of divine inspiration in middle age as the second act, leaving the third to elimination into divine nature and beyond. The correspondence between what is above and below is an ancient testament to physics coming from metaphysics at the ancient Hermetic tradition asserts, as above, metaphysics, so below, physics. The kingdoms of nature may be expressed succinctly by the Hermetic tradition in 7 principles. There is correspondence between the light as a redeemer and the creator, closing the loop between the inner and outer subjective and objective worlds. Everything that exists thereof in vibration or energy as a result of union, creation is inculcated through vibration, which finds polarity in the inherited duality of material nature. Vibration, applied as the second kingdom of energy, belongs to everything manifest and physical, shown as the cosmos in the graphic table below. The next stage involves the collapse of material into atomic polarized stars, shown as a chart of stellar types in the table. Further accumulation gives rise to the rhythm and the music of the spheres, or the order of the heavens as stars with planets that harbor biological systems. At this level, the nature of cause and effect become more pronounced. Gender-driven life then develops to the point of spiritual ascension. Through our own mentalism, we create a correspondence between the outer objective world and the inner subjective reality by making the light with God's Holy Spirit. The highest form of life in this system closes the loops of kingdoms by discovering divinity and metaphysics within. The suggestion in such a neat and tidy system is that there is one destined cosmic purpose based on simple logical process to allow rational beings to consciously square the circle of life and recreate the light as the perfect Son of God, making divine those who do so. And that is the conclusion of chapter 3, we're calling Cosmogenesis. So I'm glad you're here. And what I'll do is I'm going to be sharing, that is actually as I post this on YouTube and on Facebook. And you can then look into it and what I would call these pictures. It would kind of give you a better illustration of what is really going on. So I thank you for being here. I hope that you had a good day. I hope that your eyes are willing to see and you have ears to hear what is being revealed here today. Thank you very much, and you have a good day.